Welcome back to MLG Bluestream. Game 2 of Bomber vs. Gosu User is coming your way very shortly.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I was like, yes. Really excited. Again, like we were kind of talking about at the end of that, I think Gosu User has more to offer.
Sure.
If people were to, like, I just got back from getting myself a Hot Pocket, what's going on in the game? And they, like, watch the last 2 minutes of that, they're like, another foreigner getting smashed. Well, before that, Gosu User was pushing the limit with a nice push. He traded really well. And again, I got caught up in watching the entire army of Bomber die in the middle of the map, but I was a fool because that's never the entire army of Bomber. Bomber is called Bomber because he's up in the air. He's not on the ground. Silly me.
You can't get enough pictures in pictures on a standard monitor in order to cover what he's doing. I mean, the best thing you could do there is just keep your eye on the minimap and nothing but that. That's the most relevant thing when it comes to dealing with Bomber. We're talking middle push, and then the most ridiculous thing is it's a three-pronged attack, but the prongs are like opposite ends of the map. And it's just impossible to keep your eye on, and apparently that was exactly the issue that Gosu User was dealing with. Okay, folks, we are going into Game 2, and it's going to be on Whirlwind this time around.
And Whirlwind is a big map, and of course, with the lack of Protoss in this matchup, we have to talk about the speed and the variety of that speed. So that's going to be Lings chasing down this Medivacs, but TotalBiscuit, I have to revisit the idea you brought forward because it's so apt, it's so clear that this is something Zergs are going to have to come back to, but you cannot rely on, you know, Lings and Roaches as your anti-air defense. Of course, when those Infestors pop out, that's a little bit of a better answer. But until then, if your fourth is getting sniped or delayed or your main's getting dropped while you're in the middle of the map, then you're probably losing. And by the time your anti-air does get out there, perhaps the game's out of reach anyways. So I hope through some weird brain link that perhaps you and Gosu User have, you've communicated to him, you're like, Gosu User, make Spine Crawlers and Spore Crawlers. And then if he does, this could be a more competitive match.
It's like 3 lights came down from the ceiling and said, Gosu User, this is the voice of the Mysterons. We know you can hear us, Earthman. And I'll see whether or not he responds to that. Right now he's got to deal with this guy who seems to have brought his A game. There's Bomber, and then there's Bomber. And he's brought Bomber this time around. That's his name. He's from Startale in the Red Trunks, playing Terran to the northwest of Whirlwind, a map that he's no doubt extremely comfortable on. Versus his opponent, who is down 1 game in this best of 5 series so far, looking to try and break the Foreigners' massacre that's going on here at MLG right now. It is Millennium's Gosu User in the blue, playing Zerg.
Whirlwind is like the MySpace person map in the sense that, like, you look at one picture of it, and if it's if it's a opposite end spawn map, that's when the double chin doesn't show up. That's when the makeup is just right. The lighting is great. It's the top of the mirror picture. Beautiful. Really fair map. But when it's close spawns, top left, top right, that's when you find out that, no, that was some clever picture taking you took, but this is a different map. That's the most confusing analogy I can make possible, and that was one of my goals in this tournament. So it's a personal goal of mine.
You did a pretty good job there. I'm going to give that a good 7.5, a good solid 7.5.
You know what? That's fair. In fact, I think that's maybe even generous because I thought that was way more funny in my head. But the point I'm trying to make is that in close spawns on Whirlwind, a true 4-player map, this is a different map. It is a large map, but still, those Roach Baneling pushes much more viable. Any kind of bio Widowmine aided push, that too becomes much more viable because the distance is it's so much shorter. But when it's like top left, bottom right, then it's a gigantic map. Whirlwind becomes one of the biggest.
Absolutely it does. So we're going to have to see how that actually affects the way that this game plays out and how Gosu User actually handles it. Funny thing about Gosu User is that, you know, if you were to put most Foreigners on Whirlwind against a Korean, then a match that's already Korean favored becomes much more so. Simply because Whirlwind is a map they're very used to with the GSL. Thing about it is that lately it's picked up a lot of popularity in online tournaments simply because a lot of the other maps are really terrible. So as a result, they've said, oh, you know what's really good? GSL. Let's take some maps from there. And as a result, we've seen the guys who are experienced in online tournaments actually getting a little bit of an edge on this map.
And I'll tell you, tip of the hat to Blizzard for including in their ladder map pool. I think you just said that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I just think it just makes things better. And while you were right, in GSL, this is a map where if you practice specifically for it, you were advantaged that way by allowing it to become a part of ladder practice, which even Koreans, by the way, guys, I know people hate to hear this, but Koreans actually practice the majority of their practice on the ladder as well. This becomes a good thing for everybody involved. Ghost User kind of opening up the same way. It is gasless up until now. We did see a gas go down for Bomber and a quick reactor on said barracks, excuse me, but then the factory. So this is starting to look exactly like a Wings of Liberty opening.
It certainly is. He's going to hold that over right there, so we will most likely see the factory go down on that reactor fairly shortly. The question, I suppose, then becomes, what does he immediately decide to build with it? Does he go Wing style and open Hellions, or does he decide to throw down some Widow Mines?
Oh, good question. I want to say Hellions just to fight back the creep. I feel like that could be the case, but you absolutely could be right. It absolutely could be Widow Mines as well. We do see that traditional fast third CC from Bomber. Again, this is, I mean, you could almost blind counter that it's what's going to be. There are Hellions coming out here.
Yep.
And a Tech Lab on the barracks usually signifies that we should see a bio transition after this. You usually want to start your combat shield or stim with your extra gas from there. If we don't see that, that could be an additional factor, but I think we will. I think like you said, Bomber and Marines, you're not going to get too much different than that.
He's very much a staunch traditionalist when it comes to this particular matchup. Even getting him to build Hellbats like Bomber, you know, they're really, really good with Medivacs. No, that's a mechanical unit. I will not do that. That is unacceptable to me as a person. But we will see if he decides to mix those in a little bit later on. The MMMH composition has been getting some popularity, although not quite as much, since every time Hellbats win anything, it seems like the Nerf bat is brought out and it's just, no, the Hellbat's back in your corner, don't. But we'll see if he decides to pull that out. There we go. There's the third, nice and easily scouted there by the Hellions. Won't be able to do much to it.
No.
Needless to say. And he's probably going to work on creep. Creep spread is starting to get going at a reasonable rate. A lot of active tumors down there already.
Yeah. And Ghosty's been really good about that. Creep spread, of course, one of the ways that a Zerg player can enjoy lots of success because it's such a boon to them and it's such a detriment to their opponent. It's a very big deal. But he is opening up Roach here. Now, the Roach number has me... And now adding gas, I really feel like these are defensive Roaches. I feel like he's saying, okay, if you're going to try any kind of Hellion stuff, I will just fend you off, making maybe some Lings to go ahead and aid in that endeavor. But I don't feel like that's the aggressive number. Yeah, there's 12 drones. Certainly not.
Absolutely not. It would be so odd just to see that come over as well. The main problem is, I suppose, now that Ghost User has to deal with the fact that he will almost be certain that there's triple CC down.
Right.
And that's gone so far unmolested. And it's being, any kind of aggression is kind of being held back. Bomber with the classic Bomber supply depot, which is an integral part of that build. Getting supply box. I think he got supply box at 57 last time as well.
It's like a motivator for him. It's
pretty
like,
much, yeah.
Good. It's every game I've ever played.
And there's the entire drone line dead. You know, that's a bit ugly.
It is ugly. And I'll tell you what, if this was like 9 Hellions pulling in and doing that much damage, we look at that and we say, that's not that big of a deal. But that was 4 Hellions killing 8 drones. That is quite a big deal. You don't want to be making that exchange. Those Hellions are very, very much so disposable, and if you can trade them out for that many drones, then you are looking good. Third CC still inside the main. I mean, one of the things to talk about Whirlwind, much like the map prior, that third's fairly exposed. It's kind of hard to defend, and this is another map where that is the case. We can see the bunker going down at the base of the 2 ramps, kind of connecting them, but there's even a backdoor ramp as well. So Bomber's going to have to do the kind of defense he did in the game prior.
Which certainly should be something to be able to do. We're looking at a pretty damn similar build here.
Yeah.
We don't have the Reaper opening, but you see the Armory going down around that time, so it's fairly likely that we will see, especially with tanks, Medivacs, and Marines coming out on the field, it will be that 2-2-1 push, classic push, and we're seeing a fairly similar response from Ghost User this time around as well, with the speed, the upgrades, and we've got Baneling speed and Roach speed coming in to try and break through this. He does have a reasonable number of drones, but he did lose some, so that's slowed his defense down significantly.
Yeah. I like looking at the southern part of the map and seeing those 2 Overlords, and at first I was like, why are they there? That's not a base that you'd want to scout, but what it is they're looking for medevac paths. They're, in fact, spaced just so that their 2 vision circles, if you will, encompass enough of that. But, of course, that's a little bit secondary, because as we can see in the middle of the map, there is creepy crawlies making their way over here. This exposed third mineral line is getting touched just a little bit by those Zerglings. But we're about to see a lot of Banelings, a lot of Roaches, and another crack attempt.
That we are. Will he be able to smash his way through this time around? Will Bomber's drops ever be spotted by any Overlord on the map in any situation? All this and more on the next exciting episode of Whirlwind.
I was hoping you'd go there.
Gotta be done, man. And this aggression is now poised to... Oh, the Overlord's finally spotted. There we go. There's the exciting conclusion. Yep. Tune in next time, folks. But that's also going to be a few dead Overlords. No Overlord speed and a supply block here for Ghost User. Once again, going to pretty severely blunt the aggression that's coming in now. He can't really follow it up with all that much.
If one drop's good, 2 is better. There's another one entering the main as well, picking off an Overlord of their own. The other drop is going to get intercepted by a pack of Zerglings, but the Banelings and Zerglings and Roaches are attempting for that bust. The tank's exposed a little bit. Bunker's not quite as strong. This is looking to be much, much better, and I'm going to pan to that mini-map as Total Biscuit recommended because I want to see is Ghosty just dying while I'm freaking out about the middle. Not
as
yet,
badly, but
main,
it's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Well, at least damage is now being done finally to the economy of Bomber, which is not something we've seen in the previous games. He is trading it one way or the other. No Banelings left to smash his way through that ramp, but now there's Roaches are caught there and saying, well,
he's not
we
paying
kind of need
attention.
to leave.
His third lost all its drones despite having Lings there. His main base lost all of its drones. Well, most. There's like 5 of them huddled over there, but
He's going to lose the lair as well at this rate.
Yeah, you know what? This sucks, because Ghost User did so much damage. Like, otherwise, Bomber's huddled inside his main, but both the drops are huge successes. They destroyed the main. They trashed the third, and while there is a giant bank for Ghost User, he's got some rebuilding to do.
He also has no lava to spend the bank on. That's the main problem
exactly
here.
Right.
It's what was he going to build with that exactly? And drops continue, and momentum is carried in favor of Bomber here. Some damage done, but 45, 46, just clocking up those drone kills versus 13 SCV kills with 3 active orbital commands.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter, and I've got to revisit that concept again. What is the point in having a bigger army and no static defense if you're just going to die to drops in your main and your third?
I mean,
it's not like these were Doom drops. This is just like one medevac with Marines.
You're exactly right. And he saw him coming. He made the conscious choice to say, you know what? I'm going to go forward with the attack. And the weird part for me, Total Biscuit, was to your point, he made Lings, but then wasn't really focusing on getting them into the right places. It's just because he was more focused on the attack. And I don't fault him for it. I understand that. But if you're going to do that, you have to do both. You can't just do one or the other, because Terrans, since the beginning of time, have been picking up their buildings and fluttering away while they kill you with whatever the hell they have outside their base that should be dead.
It sounds like there's a little bit of post-traumatic stress.
It's happened a few times.
Just wanted to make that clear. Is that a trigger that I should be avoiding?
You know what? Actually, Bomber did it to me, to be honest with you. I played a game against him on Shakir's Plateau, and I'm not going to go too long into this, but I had him. His base floated away, and one medevac killed all the rest of everything I had. I died.
And that's a terrible thing to have happen to anyone, really.
It is. I was there for it. It was bad. Now, there's 2 medevacs almost fully loaded floating around there, and to be honest with you, their supplies are equal, so that's the part where we start looking at that and say, okay, maybe Ghost User can mount some kind of comeback. He is mining off of 3 bases, which is great, trying to rebuild his main. But I'm looking for the Infestors. I want to look at that unit count. 2.
2 of them.
If that was like 10, I'd be like, oh, cool, he's got a chance. I don't really know. I don't think so.
Yeah, a lot of damage is being done here. Ghost User's going to have to respond to this drop fairly quickly. Nice snipe of the hatchery there. It's like beautiful. It was so low in HP. Nice and easy to do. And now he flips over to the other side before the Afterbirders even leave, and he's going to do yet more damage to the economy. And yeah, Ghost User has reasonable supply, but it's all tied up in Roaches that are running back and forth, trying to desperately catch this nonsense which is going on. Great fungal growth. We can actually say that unironically now.
You know what? But let's not get too carried away, because if they make a Storm a skill shot, I might have to, change our verbiage for the commentary. But good Overlord network down at the bottom. The drops, okay, Ghost User, it's weird to use the word survive, but he did kind of survive. They're equal in supply. He's okay in tech. Unfortunately for him, he's ran a bit dry. Like, if you look at his resources, they're kind of low. His units are scattered around. He's definitely in shell shock mode, because Bomber just got done ravaging him. And by the way, tip of the hat to Bomber. I mean, I know we're kind of being critical of Ghost User, but let's be honest here. We're being critical of him because he's facing a world-class Terran that's making it look bad when he makes it. Like, when a really good player sees you make a mistake, it looks horrible. When a bad player sees you make a mistake, it's like they trip, fumble, and fall into that, and they're like, maybe they capitalize a little bit, but Bomber's making it look like Ghost User's drunk from time to time.
I can't really disagree with you at this stage. It's kind of blindly stumbling into Bomber's natural and just happening to have a lot of Banelings and Roaches. And yeah, it was a good push. It lacked finesse, but with Roaches you don't need finesse. It's a sledgehammer, or well, it's a bag of oranges.
You're exactly right.
You can beat the Terran around.
Thank you for saying that.
It won't leave a bruise. You know, it's all good.
I have family in Oregon that do not know about bag of oranges. You beat people with those so it doesn't show bruises, right?
That's what I'm told.
That's what I'm told too. I've never done it. But if I had to, I would use a bag of oranges. Not potatoes. I'm told that leaves bruises.
Sweet Valencia oranges specifically, I'm told, are the best particular brand for that. So that's a little bit of an endorsement right there. But one, please don't do that, kids. One way,
don't beat people with oranges.
That is our recommendation.
And if you do, don't blame us at least. Yeah, please.
Exactly. This is not endorsed by MLG Corporation. One way or the other, it's Gosu User, as I said, had that one big attack, and now he's been in full-on defensive mode for the rest of it. He's starting to build static defense, and he's starting to get things back up. Has a lot of that resource tied in roaches, and also let's just have a quick look at the upgrades, actually, because this is going to be pretty telling. I'm trying to find a military unit of Gosu User to actually look at here. And upgrades-wise, he's definitely behind. We're talking about 2-1 for the melee units. Ranged, his roaches have no upgrades whatsoever. 3-3 is about to finish for the Marines. So this supply, especially with this number of medivacs on the field, these roaches will not trade efficiently at all.
And that's one of the lasting effects of effective harass. When you harass a guy, okay, you're doing economic damage to him, but anytime you do economic damage, one of the first things to take a back seat is going to be those upgrades, and that has a huge impact, not necessarily on the immediate battles, but more the later battles. And we can see that here, 3-3 Bio is shoving out, Ravens being added to the mix, but they're going to do battle with a massive Zerg army that's fairly unupgraded. Those roaches, no attack upgrades, but here come the Fungals. They're actually coating a lot of the Marines in damage. That 10 range being used so well. Good coverage here. I'm looking at the minimap. There's no drops actually killing Ghost User, so we can actually be genuinely excited about this. And yes, the tank count has been slaughtered. Zergling sacking the third Ghost User.
Very nice.
Might just have done what we've been wanting for a long time now.
Oh, yeah, and he got a great surge off the back of that as well. 64 more Lings in production, and there was a few things that deal with upgrades pretty well. Banelings versus Marines, you can have 3 armor, you can have 10 armor. Marines are still going to die to those things. They're pretty much allergic to them, and the Fungals were pretty good. Bombers pre-spread quite nicely, but those were good shots. I mean, every one of those connected with good groups, and as a result, Banelings crashed in. The Roaches kind of went for a weird flank and then turned around and weren't actually involved in the party at all. They sort of arrived late and they didn't bring any good booze.
That's that range 10. Well, yeah, by the way, I like that. There is actually 2 medevacs out there floating. Bomber for the time is forgotten.
Oh my gosh!
Oh no!
Oh, that was devastating!
And
what a hit.
That was ugly. That was just ugly. I do hear the shots of a Raven taking out one of those infestors. Again, that drop in the lower hand side, I do want to draw attention to that because this, I mean, there are 2 spine crawlers there, but let's not exaggerate the power of spine crawlers.
No.
Damage in the background could be being taken, but Bomber is the one at this time being occupied with trying to survive.
And this is great for Gosu User. He finally gets to tech. He's got his Great Aspire on the way. He's building Vipers as well. So if Bomber decides to go full-on defensive with tanks, what happens? Blinding Cloud, Abduct all over the place. Things start to get really interesting. We've got Gosu User playing with a large number of Infestors and saying, oh, you know what? Infestor nerf doesn't bother me. These are still good support casters if you know what you're doing with them.
I can't tell you how excited I am watching this. A nice Fungal lands on the majority of that bio.
Banelings,
they are trapped. This base is scheduled for destruction. Here it comes. And I'm going to hold off on that analysis because, SCVs are dying, but there's
a planetary. It's gonna go. It may go down eventually at some point, probably about 3 or 4 in the morning when everyone's trying to sleep. It's like suddenly this huge explosion. Are we under attack? Well, one way or the other, that is going to very, very slowly die. There we go.
All right, there's guy.
It took a while, but that was a beatdown. Gosu User took a lot of damage doing that, and he needs to watch out with these Infestors, of course. He needs to get them out of there. But this is looking a hell of a lot better. Wow, Gosu User. Huge surge of Ultralisks coming in.
That is actually 5 Ultras are about to come in. There's a little bit of a miss rally actually worth noting inside that man. I'm not sure if it's a miss rally or he literally thinks that a drop could come and he needs that much there, but still on 4 bases. Let's say that much. If you look at that third base of Gosu, it's actually getting rather thin. Natural and main, mind out. The main less so because he's had that for less time than he's had his natural. LOL. But he needs to start thinking about expanding because while he has trimmed down Bomber is, I mean, he's making Marines, man. He's making 3-3 Marines with Ravens. He can get pretty cost-effective fast.
That he very much can. Ooh, now...
Oh, here come the drops.
Yeah, the drops are coming in. Now, these Vipers are kind of hovering around thinking, what could they do? They can do something. They can actually be used to pull medevacs into dead zones, for instance, to prevent drops. Right now, it's not happening. Apparently, 3,000 Lings is also good enough to prevent drops. So there you go. Who knew? The thing is that this is going back and forth, back and forth. Nice Fungal follow-up right there. Ultralisk coming as well. He's managed to trap. He even has a Corruptor out there. Yes, Zerg still have Corruptors, even though the campaign claims otherwise. They are there. They can fight, and they've taken down a few medevacs here, and Gosu User now with the drop defense solid. And can I just point out there's only 22 SCVs on the map?
Yeah, there is only 22 SCVs.
There's 7 mules, but there's 22 SCVs. So that's like about 98 SCVs, at least while those guys are hanging around.
Yeah, with those 7 mules, just only bringing in about the same amount of money. So that's fine. joking aside, though, this is an Ultras Ling Baneling assault, and the Infestors have been mostly retained, so we're about to see a pretty strong army. And now Broodlords are coming out as well. The Greater Spire has complete. Those Corruptors aren't just for killing Medivacs.
Oh, that was so wow! Cool. Is he
All right.
Oh my God, that was fantastic.
You are so good at this game. What did I just watch? Okay. You're not supposed to shoot your own stuff.
Apparently you can. That actually kind of...
All right, pause the game.
Yeah.
Bombers, stop it.
This is silly.
You're not making out with the hottest chick in this building. The next 10 seconds, a crime just happened.
That was some classy stuff coming on right there. Using his Medivac to extend the range and aim specifically that particular Seeker missile.
It might be a winning move.
It
Total
could
Biscuit.
be. That is so damaging.
Look at the banks. There's none. There's 2 Ultras coming out. Supply-wise, they're equal-ish. There are Infestors out here, so if he can get the clumped-up Marines, that will get him back in this, because to your point, Bomber's not really mining, actually. If you look at his third, that's Skimp and Bones, but there's nothing there mining. So this game's not out of reach yet, but that might have been the move that could win Bomber this game that I thought was unwinnable up until then.
That was insane. That was a wonderful maneuver right there. He did it absolutely perfectly. It landed there. Ghost User was clearly not prepared for something like that to happen, thinking, what is he doing? What is he doing? Oh, half my army just exploded. There's a reason it's called Bomber, ladies and gentlemen. He used to do this with nukes. Now he's got something even better, something that just does not miss. And now Ghost User suddenly on the back foot, out of nowhere.
Literally out of nowhere, Total Biscuit. I thought this game was done, sealed, and delivered. He is moving across, though. We could have that big fight. We're going to see some Blinding Cloud. It's the Fungals that I'm excited for, though, because they are needed. But there's another missile targeting over there. It's actually, again, on the Medivac. Fungals do go down, but this army of Ghost Users all of a sudden doesn't look scary at all.
No.
Where did it go? He's down 20 supply. His last mining base is about to get sacked essentially for free. There's all his drones there. I think Ghost User is about to die, and I can't believe it.
That should not, under any circumstances, have happened.
Oh my God.
Bomber decided, no, I think this is the time when I'm going to show you a new trick. It's really quite wonderful. I'm going to make all your units disappear.
I'm just so happy to have been a part of it. And thank you for being as professional as you are, because I just would have stopped and just screamed a whole bunch and giggled and then probably like walked off stage rocking back and forth at how cool that move was.
That was pretty phenomenal, quite frankly.
I mean, Ghost User's long distance mining with 4 drones right now from his previous 4th. Bomber has landed a secret base, just dropped Infinity Mules on it. I guess it's being found because Ghost User seems to be moving over there, but his army is anchored by 3 Ultralists. He's got a single Infestor and, like, 2 Vipers that have not been a factor in this game at all. So this is not... Bomber is just moving around the map waiting for him to die.
Well, he's going to at least take pretty much all of these mules out, which is nice, don't get me wrong. I mean,
Taking mules, yeah.
Bomber doesn't have any money, neither does Ghost User,
yeah.
But unfortunately Bomber has 10 tanks and 26 Marauders, 33 Marines, and 3 Ravens, which, as far as I'm concerned, should be about 20 nukes, considering how effective they've been thus far. Hell, they hit more than 20 nukes would. But
well, yeah, and enough time, if you think about those 3 Ravens, they're basically 6 dead units for Ghost User, and that's, I mean, if that's only if they hit 1 thing apiece, which is very rarely the case. So Ghost User sitting in the middle of the map, we could have our big engagement, but I gotta be, it's just, it won't be close, ladies and gentlemen. It just simply will not, and I hate to do that to you, but I feel like I'd be dishonest otherwise.
I think you probably would, and I think if Ghost User actually goes to attack this army now, he's actually making a critical mistake. The best thing he could possibly do, I suppose, is hit the main and just try and savage it as best he can, but does he even have to break through that?
Look at the main. It's going to have 6 Ravens in a moment here. I mean, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, to be quite honest. Very lucky, actually. This tank's randomly unsieged, and then the Infestors all moved within range, only to lose 1 Infestor, so it could have been worse.
Fungal burned on a couple of Marauders right there, which refused to die thanks to the armor. Engagement comes in right here. Bomber's armies, his siege tanks are actually out of position here. They can't engage. And that means Ghost gets a relatively good trade, but since he doesn't actually have any money, I don't think any trade's really a good trade here. I mean, this is like going into GameStop with your limited edition Final Fantasy VII. It's like, well, I think a 250 is a reasonable amount.
Do you have Madden, used version of Madden 2010? I'd like to make a straight trade.
It's like, well, we can't really do that, but we can definitely give you $2 off.
Oh, all right, I'll take that. That's fine. I can't sell this thing for the life of me.
Yeah. It's a fair analogy.
It's happened somewhere. You know that.
More than once, I have to imagine. Well, right now, Ghost User is going to go and attack the base, which is probably the best thing he can do since Bomber has no intention of moving anytime soon. The problem is he now has a mining base that's covered in tanks.
And the Ravens are going to go ahead and end the life. Oh, good fungal, good range on said fungal. So a couple of...
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Well, that was nice to watch if you're not a Zerg player.
Yeah. That's not fun.
No, it isn't. The Queens just realized they're out in the middle of nowhere without any creep, and they'll be limping home. But they won't have a home to limp back to if this keeps going on. But Bomber's just playing nice and patiently. I think he realizes, well, I've pretty much killed everything Ghost User has, and he can't expand anywhere.
I just can't believe we're here. His army was destroying the third Ghost User. He was on 4 base, pushing 5. Like, in the blink of an eye, his army's gone, and Bomber came out with a vengeance.
Ooh, nice catch right there. Another fungal comes in, and he can get the follow-up. Can he actually kill it? Oh, he brings the Queens in. There we go. That should at least get 1 or 2 of them out. And one goes down, and the second one manages to get away. Is that full of Marauders? Yeah, it's full of Marauders. Okay. And that's going to head on over in that direction. Those tanks are just going to sit there. He's going to mine from this base. This is super low economy in pretty much every possible regard, but Bomber has double the supply.
He's maxed. I mean, he's just maxed right there.
Yeah.
We could do the weird analysis about, like, well, he's only got like 5 SCVs. Doesn't matter. Maxed 110, 15 or so supply ahead. But more than the supply, it's what he has. Those Ravens cannot get fungal to death anymore. There's not enough juice on the 2 infestors that he has.
Nope.
And otherwise, he's just going to get... Well, oh, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. It's the coolest thing we've ever seen. My God, that's so awesome.
And it keeps being cool regardless of where you watch it. GG, and yes it was. Ladies and gentlemen, Bomber 2-0 right now against Gosu User after a phenomenal turnaround that many people could not have seen coming. And I don't think Gosu User saw coming either. He had no idea what was about to happen to him. And we just saw utter obliteration at the hands of Raven Seeker Missile.
I don't know. Bomber could show up tomorrow wearing mud just all over his body, and people would think it's the coolest thing they've ever seen. Because right now he just bleeds awesome, man. I wish I was half as cool as Bomber. That was amazing.
Ghost User scratching his head thinking, how exactly did that just go down the way that it did? He'll be looking through that replay, and he'll have looked at those supplies and said, I had the army to win that game.
Yes.
I could have won
He was ahead.
Yeah,
I was thinking we were looking at a 1-1 tie. We were going to talk about how awesome it is for Ghost User to tie up that series.
Definitely, yeah.
Because, I mean, and I don't mind. I don't mind. If Bomber's going to win games like that, he could beat every foreigner for the rest. I could watch Koreans win tournaments right and left. I mean, well, we already do, but
what an original idea.
Just keep it, yeah. Really in control? All right. Well, we're going to go to commercial break, but first, a word from the lovely Total Biscuit.
Indeed. Look at that. Look at that. It's shiny. It's gold. That means you want it. It works in StarCraft 2. It works here. But here there is no risk. You can mine that gold all you damn well please. Nothing will happen except access to wonderful 1080p StarCraft 2, which you can get with your HD Pass. Also, get yourself subscriber-only emoticons, because it is literally impossible to express your emotion in any other way using the internet. It's vitally important that you expand your range. Custom chat badge, as well as access to the live streams and archives. Also, bear in mind, MLG does daily content, and it's pretty good and worth your time. And you can watch that ad-free with 1080p if you happen to grab your HD Pass. We're going to be hopping over to a quick commercial break, folks. We just need a moment to recover from what just happened. Gosu User might end up needing a lifetime at this rate. Where do you even come back from that? That's got to be a crushing psychological defeat. We're going to have to see a strong comeback from Gosu User here, or we will see yet another 3-0 sweep from Bomber, who, I mean, he could still be playing Wings of Liberty. For all I know, it's working, so who cares what he's playing, quite frankly.
If he keeps doing what he's doing, zero complaints.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it all.
If he wasn't already my favorite Terran outside of Axiom, he's my favorite Terran outside of Axiom. We'll be right back to see whether or not he can repeat that success.